What if there were a secret circuit in your brain, one that could completely change your relationship with money for good? A set of dormant neural connections that 97% of people never discover in their entire lives. Here's the intriguing part. Quantum neuroscience suggests this circuit isn't just real, but was actually described in ancient traditions as the Midas touch. What does this mean for your financial life? It means wealth isn't just about hard work, it's about a specific kind of brain activation. Throughout history, the wealthiest people have always seemed lucky or gifted with a special talent. But the truth is, they were accessing this hidden circuit, whether they knew it or not. This neural mechanism creates such a solid mental state of abundance that money almost inevitably starts flowing toward that person. While most people fight an internal war against beliefs of scarcity, those who access this circuit naturally move in the direction of prosperity. The secret isn't in the external world, it's inside your mind. Recent research shows that certain areas of the frontal lobe remain inactive for many people their whole lives. When stimulated, these areas produce states of intense focus, clarity, and what you might call financial magnetism. It's like they form a radar for hidden opportunities, a neural map for finding paths where others only see roadblocks. When this radar is off, your financial life gets stuck in cycles of lack. When it's on, reality seems to reorganize itself towards growth. Ancient Venetian merchants believed this circuit was a gift from Midas, the mythological king who turned everything he touched to gold. They called it the Midas Agreement because they believed in an invisible pact between the mind and matter. Modern science now confirms that our neural patterns do indeed have a powerful influence on our financial reality. What was once explained by myths is now being investigated in laboratories. The bridge between mysticism and science is getting shorter. Imagine breaking free from the cycle where you work hard but remain stuck with the same financial struggles. This doesn't happen because you're incapable. It happens because your mind is following inherited programmed patterns. Your internal wealth circuit was silenced in you from an early age. Families, schools, and even entire cultures often reinforce scarcity as if it's the only reality. But this circuit doesn't disappear. It just remains dormant, waiting to be activated. People who awaken this internal wealth circuit don't work for money in the same way. They create wealth as a natural consequence of their internal state. This can show up as unexpected opportunities, abundant creativity, or even a social magnetism that opens doors that were once locked. Money begins to attract to them as an inevitable extension of who they have become. It's not about effort, it's about resonance.
We often think of wealth as something that comes from the outside. Inheritances, luck, connections, or backbreaking hard work. But what if it were exactly the opposite? What if it were all the result of something that already exists inside you, just waiting to be unlocked? That's the promise of your internal bank. It doesn't create money out of thin air, but it creates states of consciousness that reorganize how you interact with the financial world. Quantum neuroscience calls this financial coherence neural activation. It's when the brain's electrical patterns fall into alignment with emotional states of abundance. This alignment generates new neural connections and begins to dissolve old memories of scarcity. Every time you get closer to this state, you open up new possibilities. Every time you pull away, you return to the old cycle. But how do you awaken this circuit? That's the big question. Science is just beginning to investigate the tools, but ancient traditions have long held curious practices for it. Some involve specific phrases, others rituals in front of mirrors. They all shared one common belief, that wealth begins in the mind before it ever materializes in the world. This is the key few have dared to use. And this is where the most intriguing part comes in. The human body has ways of confirming when this circuit starts to activate. It's not just a thought, it's a sensation. Small physical signs can indicate that something profound is already happening. And that's exactly what we'll talk about next, the first real symptom of your internal bank activating. And the most curious thing is, if you think this just sounds like a nice idea, just wait until you discover the first physical symptom that proves your internal bank has already started to wake up. It's something that could be happening in your body right now as you watch this. So don't click away before you find out if you've already been chosen by this hidden code of abundance. The signal of awakening, the abundance tremor. Many believe financial change starts when you earn more or find the perfect investment. But in truth, it starts inside the body. The first signs of the internal bank awakening aren't visible in your bank balance, they're felt on your skin. A slight warmth, a subtle vibration, a faint pressure in specific points. These are the early markers of activation. And if you pay attention, you might have already felt them. As you listen to these words, you might notice something different. Maybe a slight pressure behind your right ear or an unexpected warmth in your solar plexus, as if your body is responding to the frequency of this knowledge. This isn't your imagination. Ancient alchemical texts actually described these very symptoms. They called it the abundance tremor, the physical confirmation that the hidden circuit has begun to open. It's fascinating to realize that the body is faster than the mind at recognizing this shift. The rational mind still resists, calling it a coincidence or suggestion, but the body knows. It vibrates, pulses, warms up, and responds. And that response is the signal that your financial energy is crossing a threshold. You're not just hearing information, you're initiating a process. The abundance tremor isn't something exclusive to enlightened gurus or mystics. It can happen to anyone exposed to the right frequency. The difference lies in recognizing and accepting the signal. Many ignore it, believing it's just nerves or a passing discomfort. But those who understand know. It's the first proof that something invisible, yet powerful, is now in motion.
It's as if the body is a laboratory where the invisible becomes visible. That warmth in your solar plexus, for example, is explained by researchers as an expansion of energy. The pressure behind your right ear is linked to the activation of rarely used neural networks. These sensations aren't illnesses, they're signs of expansion. What once seemed out of reach is now coming to the surface. This feeling is described in various traditions as the abundance filter. Not everyone passes through it. Many people feel it but ignore it. Others feel it and get scared. The few who accept it and move forward enter a state of financial resonance that forever changes their ability to attract wealth. The abundance tremor is, therefore, an invitation to walk through a doorway. You, right now, might be experiencing this. Maybe a slight change in your breathing, an unexplained chill, or even a feeling of deep calm. All of this is part of the process. The more open you are to it, the more your body confirms it. The more you resist, the weaker the signal becomes. Your choice now is simple: ignore it or move forward. But a word of caution, this is only the beginning. The abundance tremor isn't the final destination, it's the first step. It shows that the circuit is waking up, but it doesn't guarantee it will stay active. To lock in this activation, you need to understand how ancient civilizations already use this knowledge. And that's exactly what we'll look at next. Ancient merchants were familiar with the abundance tremor and developed rituals to amplify it. They knew the body was the key, and they used silver mirrors as amplifiers. These rituals weren't superstitions, they were primitive quantum protocols. What looked like mysticism is now finding support in science. Once again, tradition and science are meeting in the middle. And this leads to the inevitable question: how did the merchants of the Silk Road, who amassed unimaginable fortunes, use this knowledge to prosper? The answer lies in a curious practice passed down from generation to generation that completely transformed their perception of money. And that is what we will reveal in the next chapter. The secret of the shot merchants. Long before neuroscience was talking about neural networks and quantum resonance, some of the richest men on Earth were masters of a hidden secret. They didn't travel the Silk Road with chests overflowing with gold. Instead, they possessed a code, a simple yet powerful ritual that made them unbeatable in negotiations. This secret was closely guarded and passed down only to their most trusted successors. These merchants were known as the shot merchants. They thrived amid dangers, wars, and instability, always finding wealth where others failed. How? The answer was in a daily ritual performed at dawn. While their rivals were busy counting coins, they were cultivating their minds to receive wealth in what seemed like a supernatural way. This practice made them immune to the fear of scarcity.
The ritual began in front of a polished silver mirror. This wasn't about vanity. It was pure strategy. By looking at their own reflection, they weren't just seeing themselves. They were seeing a portal to their abundant self. They would whisper a phrase that disarmed their limiting beliefs and reprogrammed their mind to receive. Every morning, they would update their financial consciousness, like they were adjusting the compass of their own destiny. Historical accounts describe this mantra as neither long nor complicated. In just 3 minutes, a transformation would take place. They would emerge from this brief exercise vibrating with such a confident frequency that even the most difficult negotiations would tilt in their favor. It wasn't luck, it was mental preparation. They arrived at the marketplace already feeling like winners. Interestingly, their rivals thought their success came from clever trade strategies or secret alliances. They never knew the true source of their prosperity was in a mirror's reflection and a forbidden phrase. Their gold wasn't conquered through force, but through a state of mind that attracted invisible opportunities. These merchants weren't just selling goods, they were selling realities. When modern neuroscience studies the effects of consciously repeating phrases today, it discovers that these practices create new connections in the brain. With each repetition, the mind moves away from its programming for scarcity and moves toward financial coherence. What seemed like medieval mysticism is now understood as neuroplasticity in action. These merchants were centuries ahead of their time. Imagine the scene: caravans crossing deserts, loaded with fabrics, spices, and precious metals. Yet the real treasure wasn't in their cargo. It was in an invisible secret held within each merchant's mind. This secret made them magnetic to money, creating fortunes that sustained entire empires, and few dared to question how it was possible. They called this practice negotiating reality. While others merely traded goods, they traded vibrations, rewriting invisible contracts with the universe. It was as if they were saying, "I don't just trade silk or spices, I trade abundance." And the universe responded. That's why the legends about them have survived for centuries. Now for the question that's burning in your mind. What exactly did they say in front of that mirror? What phrase could reprogram an entire mind for wealth? That is the next mystery to be revealed. And the most amazing part is that this phrase isn't limited to the past. You can repeat it today and experience its power for yourself. Get ready, because the next step is the revelation of the forbidden phrase, the quantum code that confuses the logical brain, forces the awakening of your internal bank, and forever changes your financial reality.
We've arrived at the heart of the secret. Contrary to what many people think, it wasn't a common phrase like, "I'm going to get rich," or "I deserve prosperity." Your logical brain processes those kinds of statements, and they get filtered right through your limiting beliefs. What the merchants knew, and what science now confirms, is that a true activation code has to break through logic to access the hidden circuit. The phrase was, "The source always overflows to me." It's simple, but deeply enigmatic. When you repeat it, something curious happens. Your conscious mind tries to understand it, but gets confused. There's no future promise, no conditional desire. It's just a statement that abundance is inevitable, already present, and overflowing without any effort. This mental jolt breaks down the filters of a poor mindset. Try it right now. Repeat the phrase mentally. You might feel an immediate discomfort or resistance. That unease is your old system starting to collapse. It's your beliefs in scarcity rebelling against a quantum truth. It's like outdated software trying to resist a critical update. But the more you repeat it, the more this new code gets installed. The secret actually lies in that resistance. If you don't feel anything, it means the phrase didn't hit any barriers. But if there's discomfort, it's a sign it's touching the deep roots of your financial programming. That discomfort is proof the process has begun. Each repetition is another hammer strike against the invisible bars that are holding your prosperity back. Neuroscientists explain that paradoxical phrases like this one activate regions of the brain linked to imagination, emotion, and transcendence. Linear reasoning gets sidelined, making room for creative circuits that reprogram your perceptions. Every time you affirm, "The source always overflows to me," you are training your brain to accept abundance as its natural state. The most powerful part is that this phrase doesn't depend on external proof. It doesn't say, "I will receive when I achieve X." It states that the overflow is already happening. This forces your brain to start looking for evidence in the physical world to justify the statement. And, as if by magic, opportunities, connections, and money start to appear. It's not magic, it's selective neural focus in action. The merchants knew the secret wasn't to want, but to declare. The phrase became a vibrational decree that reconfigured their entire energy field. They did this in front of a mirror because their reflection acted as a visual confirmation. It was like saying to themselves, "You already are the source. You already overflow. You are already abundant." Many people fail with the law of attraction because they get stuck on surface-level phrases. But this one in particular breaks the pattern. It doesn't ask, it doesn't hope, it doesn't beg. It declares an inevitable state. That's why it resonates so powerfully with the brain's hidden circuits. That's why it activates the internal bank. And now you might be wondering, okay, I know the phrase, but how do I make sure it actually works in my daily life? That is the next revelation. There is a scientific principle that explains why some people manage to manifest wealth and others don't. It's called the principle of financial resonance, and that is what we'll explore next.
The principle of financial resonance. Imagine for a moment that money isn't just a piece of paper or a number on a screen, but a frequency. Much like a radio station transmits invisible waves, abundance vibrates on an energetic field that surrounds us all the time. The big secret is that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you already are, vibrationally. And this is where the principle of financial resonance comes in. Research from the Institute of Neuroeconomics in Zurich indicates that the mirror neurons in our brain align according to our dominant emotional states. If you're vibrating with anxiety, your brain resonates with scarcity. If you're vibrating with confidence and gratitude, it activates fields of abundance. This isn't just psychological, it's biological. Your internal chemistry adjusts your tuning to prosperity. This resonance explains why people who already live in wealth tend to attract even more opportunities. They don't need to chase after money because their internal vibration already creates a magnetic field of attraction. In the same way, those who vibrate with scarcity attract unexpected expenses, debt, and obstacles. It's a self-reinforcing cycle, but one that can be broken when you adjust your frequency. The most fascinating part is that this adjustment doesn't depend on external circumstances. You could be broke and still vibrate as if you were already abundant. The secret is to feel as if it's already happened. This emotion creates coherence between your brain and the quantum field, reorganizing invisible events around you. It's as if reality bends to match your vibration. With every thought and emotion, you send waves out into the universe. These waves find similar frequencies and return to you multiplied. This is the real reason some people seem to be lucky all the time. They aren't relying on luck, they're relying on resonance. Luck is just the name we give when the universe responds to a coherent vibrational field.
But here's the detail almost everyone misses. Wanting is different from vibrating. When you want something, you're confirming that you don't have it. When you vibrate with it, you're confirming that you already possess it. Desire perpetuates absence. Vibration confirms abundance. That's why repeating, "I want to be rich," doesn't work. Your brain only reinforces the sense of lack. The key is to feel as if it's already happened. This distinction is so powerful that the Zurich scientists call it the drag effect. By feeling wealthy now, your brain creates coherence with the quantum field and literally pulls situations, people, and opportunities that reflect that state. You don't force it, you resonate. You don't pursue, you receive. This is the invisible dance between mind and matter. The principle of financial resonance can be compared to a magnet. A magnet doesn't have to chase after metal. It just attracts it because its very nature is compatible. In the same way, when you become vibrationally compatible with abundance, money begins to flow inevitably. There's no struggle, only coherence.
If this sounds too abstract, just remember, you've already experienced this on a small scale. You've had days where everything just clicked. Positive coincidences popped up, and even the traffic seemed to part ways for you. That's resonance in action. Now imagine applying that same principle consciously and deliberately to your financial life. But if this kind of resonance exists, is it really possible to access different versions of yourself, living in even greater states of abundance? The answer is yes. And this is exactly where the next secret comes in, the portal of parallel financial realities, where your wealthier self already exists, waiting only for your vibrational choice. The portal of parallel financial realities. What if I told you that the you who is already living in full financial abundance exists on another timeline? It might sound like science fiction, but quantum physics describes the existence of multiple parallel realities. In each one, a different version of you makes different choices, creating alternate destinies. And here's the most intriguing part. The act of feeling abundant right now can collapse that wealthy reality into your present experience. The idea is simple and revolutionary. The universe isn't linear, it's probabilistic. Every time you choose to vibrate with scarcity, you strengthen the timeline where scarcity dominates. Every time you choose to vibrate with abundance, you strengthen the one where you thrive. It's not about wishing, it's about conscious observation. You, as the observer, decide which reality collapses into your experience. Think of your life like a TV station broadcasting multiple channels at once. The scarcity channel and the abundance channel are both transmitting right next to each other. But the real question is, which channel is your consciousness tuned to right now? It's that vibrational choice that determines what you experience as reality. Gratitude is the master key to this process. When you feel grateful for something you haven't yet seen physically, you're literally accessing the version of yourself that's already living it. That's the portal. It's why spiritual teachers have always emphasized the power of gratitude in advance. It's the vibrational trick that connects timelines and lets you step into parallel realities. This isn't fantasy. It's an observable practice. Think of times you felt deeply grateful for no clear reason. Suddenly, coincidences began lining up, unexpected opportunities appeared, and life seemed to conspire in your favor. That was a glimpse of the parallel reality you accessed, even if only for a few moments. Now imagine cultivating that state every single day. Your brain and your energy begin aligning more and more consistently with that timeline. It's like consciously changing the channel and staying there. Little by little, the old you, rooted in scarcity, loses its grip, and the abundant you becomes your new dominant identity. This idea is supported by quantum scientists who study the observer effect. They affirm that reality only defines itself the moment it's observed. Before that, all possibilities coexist. That means your wealthy self isn't some far-off fantasy. It's a real probability waiting to be chosen. Vibrational observation is the act of collapsing that possibility into your life.
Every moment of gratitude, every affirmation of abundance, and every exercise in resonance is a conscious leap into this parallel reality. You aren't creating wealth out of thin air. You're simply choosing to live as the version of yourself where it already exists. The portal isn't in the future. It's in the present. It's available right now, in this very moment. This is the true power of your internal bank. It doesn't just awaken sensations, it acts as an access key to the wealthiest versions of yourself. By aligning your vibration, you merge with your millionaire self, making that reality inevitable. Abundance stops being a promise and becomes your actual experience. And this is exactly where a practical question comes up. How can you bring this merging into your everyday life in a tangible way? The answer lies in a specific ritual, simple yet incredibly powerful. The Golden Mirror Ritual, the next step to locking in this transformation. The Golden Mirror Ritual. We've reached the point where theory meets practice. There's no use understanding the concepts of abundance if you don't embody them in your body and mind. This is where the Golden Mirror Ritual comes in. A simple yet profoundly powerful technique that can activate your internal bank right away. It doesn't require hours of meditation or special equipment, just you, a mirror, and a bill of any value. The practice begins at night, when your mind is more receptive. Take a bill, any denomination, and press it against your heart. Stand in front of a mirror and look directly into your own eyes. Don't focus on your face or superficial details. Look into the depth of your eyes. That's where the reflection of your abundant self lives, waiting to merge with you. As you hold that eye contact, repeat the forbidden phrase in your mind. The source always overflows to me. Do this for 90 seconds without interruption. At first, it might feel uncomfortable or even strange, but that's exactly where the magic happens. That discomfort is your scarcity mindset resisting the merge with your abundant self. Push through and pay attention to the subtle shifts in your expression. Little by little, you'll notice your face beginning to look different, maybe more confident, more at peace, even more powerful. It's not an illusion. It's the reflection of your abundant identity emerging through you. Your brain registers this new visual pattern as real, reinforcing the new programming. It's as if your mind is saying, this is the real me. This is the me that overflows with wealth. The mirror acts as a quantum amplifier. It doesn't just reflect your physical image, it reflects your vibration back to you, making it stronger. That's why ancient civilizations always used mirrors in transformation rituals. They understood that a reflection is a doorway between the visible and the invisible. When you look into your own eyes, you aren't just seeing yourself, you're recognizing yourself in another timeline.
The money bill serves as a symbolic anchor. By holding it against your heart, you send a powerful message to your subconscious that money is already a part of you. It's not something external you have to chase. It's a natural extension of your identity. After the ritual, you can keep this bill as a talisman, a daily reminder of your connection to abundance. The 90-second time frame isn't arbitrary. Neuroscience research shows this is the minimum amount of time needed for new synaptic connections to begin forming in response to repeated stimuli. In just a minute and a half, you can literally light up new neural networks related to prosperity. This ritual isn't superstition. It's a neuroquantical trigger. When practiced daily, the Golden Mirror Ritual builds such a strong financial identity that it begins to overflow into every area of your life. The way you speak, the way you carry yourself, even the way people perceive you, it all begins to shift. This new vibration opens doors, sparks opportunities, and attracts wealth almost effortlessly. You become the source of prosperity, not just someone searching for it. And maybe you're wondering, am I alone on this journey? The answer is no. There's an invisible network of people who have already activated their internal bank, a network that vibrates in unison, recognizes each other, and creates connections and opportunities that can't easily be explained. This network is the next step in your journey. It's time to talk about the network of resonators, an invisible community that may already be calling you right now. The network of resonators. When you start vibrating with abundance, something interesting happens. People you've never met before begin to appear. Opportunities come from unexpected places. Doors that were once closed suddenly open. This isn't coincidence. It's the effect of the network of resonators, a collective field made up of those who have activated their internal bank. This network works like an invisible ecosystem. Those vibrating at the same frequency recognize each other almost automatically, even without words. It's as if a silent radar draws them together. Suddenly, you meet someone who has exactly the solution you need, or someone shows up willing to invest in your idea. Synchronicity multiplies. The most impressive part is that this network doesn't need to be physically organized. It's quantum, energetic, vibrational. It's always active, waiting for you to join. When you activate your internal bank, you send a signal into this invisible web. It's like saying, "I'm ready, I'm resonating," and immediately the network begins to respond. Many people describe this experience as magical, but really, it's just the vibrational field in action. Imagine a room full of musical instruments. When one is played, those tuned to the same frequency begin to vibrate on their own. That's how the network of resonators works. By vibrating abundance, you awaken responses from others on the same wavelength.
This network doesn't just amplify your individual wealth, it creates collective synergy. Businesses emerge, partnerships flourish, ideas turn into concrete projects. Abundance isn't limited to one person. It circulates among everyone, multiplying along the way. That's the power of vibrational connection. Money doesn't stop with you, it flows through you and comes back in even greater measure. Now, you might be wondering, how do I join this network? The answer is simple and symbolic. Declare publicly that the agreement has been activated. Write in the comments, "The agreement is active." This phrase acts like a quantum seal of belonging. It's your yes to the universe, your confirmation that you've chosen to connect. When you do this, you're not just announcing your entry, you're sending an energetic signal into the network itself. Others who are already resonating will recognize that signal and new connections will begin to form. The simple act of declaring builds an invisible bridge linking you to hundreds, maybe thousands of resonators all over the world. What once seemed like random chance now reveals itself as intentional synchronicity. The right people show up, the right opportunities arrive, the right paths open. It's as if the universe was simply waiting for your permission to act. That's the strength of the network of resonators, an invisible community operating for everyone's mutual benefit. But before you fully immerse yourself in this network, there's an internal enemy you need to recognize and confront. It's not out there in the system or in other people. It lives inside you, and it will try to sabotage this awakening. That enemy is the poverty ego. And in the next chapter, you'll understand how it operates, and, more importantly, how to dissolve it so it can never limit your prosperity again. The resistance of the poverty ego. If you felt excitement, curiosity, or even chills from everything revealed so far, it's a sign your internal bank is already waking up. But there's a hidden force within you that will try to sabotage this process. That force is called the poverty ego, a neural construct that mistakes your identity for scarcity and resists any movement toward abundance. It's not your true inner voice. It's a program installed by past experiences, society, and even family. It's that voice that says, "This is fantasy, money isn't for you," or "It's no use trying." These aren't genuine thoughts. They're recycled memories that gain strength over the years.
They're like mental viruses blocking your system's upgrade. The main function of the poverty ego is to protect the old identity. It fears the unknown, even when the unknown is wealth and freedom. That's why it creates doubt, resistance, and even disdain for new ideas. By discrediting practices like the golden mirror ritual or the forbidden phrase, it ensures you remain trapped in the cycle of scarcity. It's the guardian of your invisible prison.
But here's the secret. The poverty ego loses its power the moment you observe it. When you hear those critical voices and, instead of identifying with them, you simply recognize them as the old program, something shifts. Conscious observation disarms the poverty ego. You realize you are not it. You are the observer behind it. That simple shift alone begins the process of dissolving it. In scientific terms, this happens because metacognition activates different regions of the brain, disrupting automatic thought patterns. The more you observe without judgment, the more new neural connections form, weakening the old ones. It's like slowly powering down the scarcity machine that's been running for decades. The poverty ego doesn't disappear all at once. It tries to come back, especially during moments of growth. But every time you recognize it without identifying with it, it loses strength. The key isn't to fight it, it's to shine a light on it. What is seen can no longer control you in the same way. The poverty ego feeds on the unconscious. In full awareness, it falls apart. This is why so many people give up before reaching full prosperity. They mistake the poverty ego for their true voice. They think resistance means this isn't working, when in reality, it's proof that it is working. The resistance is the old program's last stand, its desperate attempt to survive. So the next time you hear a voice saying, "This is all nonsense," smile. Acknowledge it. Ah, that's just my poverty ego trying to hold me back. When you smile, you break the cycle of fear. The program loses its seriousness, its weight, its ability to control you. You reaffirm that your identity is abundant, not scarce. The poverty ego is ultimately the biggest obstacle between you and unlimited wealth. But at the same time, it's the clearest sign that you're on the right track. If it's resisting, it's because you've already begun to escape its grip. Every time you observe it without identifying with it, your internal bank grows stronger. And then comes the inevitable reward. The universe begins confirming your transformation through tangible signs, real proof that abundance is already on its way. These confirmations are known as financial synchronicities, and they'll be the focus of our next chapter. Synchronicity confirmation. Within the next 72 hours after practicing the internal bank exercises, something extraordinary may happen. You might receive unexpected praise about your work, a surprise discount, a symbolic gift, or even unexpected money. These aren't coincidences. They're financial synchronicities, the universe's way of saying, "I heard you." Synchronicities are proof that your vibration has changed. The universe responds by aligning small situations that confirm your new frequency. At first, they might seem subtle, almost easy to miss. But if you pay attention and express gratitude, they grow in intensity and frequency. It's like tuning a radio. The more you adjust the dial, the clearer the signal becomes.
The biggest mistake people make is ignoring these confirmations. Many people think, "Oh, that was just luck," or "that has nothing to do with what I've been doing." When you think that way, you cut off the flow of resonance. Gratitude is the key that keeps the circuit active. Every time you give thanks, even for small synchronicities, your internal bank grows stronger. For example, imagine you find a coin on the ground. To most people, it's nothing. But to someone who understands this process, it's the first physical proof that abundance is manifesting. By giving thanks for that coin, you send a signal to the universe that you recognize abundance in all its forms. And the universe responds by giving you more. Over time, these small confirmations turn into bigger changes. An unexpected check, an invitation to a profitable project, a promotion at work. No matter the form, the pattern is always the same. You attract what you acknowledge.
Wealth is already moving toward you, and these synchronicities are the first rays of sunrise to signal what's coming. It's important to keep a financial synchronicity journal. Write down every little sign. This not only sharpens your awareness, but also creates a record that your mind can use as concrete proof that your internal bank is working. The more evidence you gather, the harder it becomes for your poverty ego to create doubt. This practice creates a powerful cycle: perception, gratitude, amplification. The universe sends signs, you recognize them, give thanks, and make space for even bigger signs. This is how abundance shifts from theory to tangible experience in your life. You move from being a student to being a conscious co-creator. Remember, wealth doesn't arrive all at once like a lightning strike. It comes in growing waves. Every synchronicity is a wave announcing the tide of prosperity that's on its way. If you maintain your vibration, you'll soon realize you're already living as the millionaire version of yourself. The portal has closed behind you, and there's no going back to scarcity. The internal bank isn't a temporary trick, it's a permanent reprogramming. It transforms your body, your mind, and your vibration, connecting you to an invisible network of unlimited abundance. Synchronicities are just the beginning. The real destination is living in a constant state of overflow. And when you reach this point, you understand the greater truth. You never needed to look for wealth outside yourself. The gold was always in the reflection, waiting for the moment you dared to see it. Today, the reflection has answered. The agreement is active. Now that you know how to activate your internal bank and join the network of resonators, your journey is just beginning. So be part of the agreement. Subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, and leave a comment saying the agreement is active to seal your entry into this field of abundance. And don't stop here. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now to discover the forgotten technique the ancients used to multiply wealth effortlessly. I'll see you there.